Welcome everyone to the DC Beer Show. We are at DC Beer across social media. Snallygaster VIP tickets almost sold out. Get yours today. Brandy, what are you drinking on this almost crisp fall-like evening?
Well, I was at Other Half earlier, enjoying the beginnings of trivia with our very own Jordan. And I drank a boxcar from Other Half. The boxcar is back. What about you, Mike?
Well, Brandy, to your Hellas, I raise you Pils.
Nice.
It's Dovetail Pils. Yeah, so when Dovetail launched in our DC market, Pils wasn't actually out. But in the last month, 2 months, 3 months, what is time but a flat circle? We've come into Pils, which is a dynamite beer, 4.6% ABV, right in that sweet spot under 5% ABV. And Dovetail actually just brewed a wet hop beer. Our good friend JP, Jenny Faflin from Dovetail Brewing, documented the wet hop beer, which is definitely out of the sort of stereotypical range. When you think of Dovetail, you think of German, Austrian, Czech styles. They brewed a wet hop beer with all these whole cone hops in their cool ship. Jake, we've got Lager. What's in your glass?
By the way, just casually throwing this out, that Dovetail will also be at Snallygaster. Well, Mike, I see your Pils, and what's bigger than a Pils? Why, it's an Imperial Pils.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so I have here Sunrider Imperial Pilsner, which is from our very good friend Fabio, and his brewery, Dynasty, which is celebrating their anniversary this weekend. You should go out to Ashburn. Brandy, I believe you will be there. Anyway, it's a dynamite beer.
It's so good.
Huge, grassy, piney blast of Liberty and Laurel hops. It's pretty cool. It's like if a Pilsner and a Steak Alt had a baby. It's just like, it's a really interesting beer.
I like to call it...
It's phenomenal. I love it.
I like to call it Pilsner Bock because it imitates the Bock profile where it's sweet up front and dry in the finish. But unlike most Bock, you have this wonderful, like you said, Jake, Liberty and Laurel hops. So it's beautifully hoppy. It's got a wonderful aroma. And it's just American hops being their own. You know, I actually had this beer with Fabio last night. So tomorrow, Saturday, DC Beer will be there. Dynasty will be there. Will you be there? 6th anniversary at Dynasty.
Yeah, they have live music, and they're going to have 3 different live music bands, and the little Taco Town food truck is going to be there, and the hot wing chicken truck is going to be there, and they're doing a hot wing challenge, and they made hot sauce with the Fassbender beer, and they're dropping a collab beer with Ocelot tomorrow for the anniversary party as well. So I'm going to be there. Come on out. Stein, are you coming? Are you able to come?
My plan is to be there.
Sweet.
Of course, Fabio spoiled me, and I got a chance to try the Supret, the double IPA from Ocelot last night. Let me tell you, it is a beautiful mashup of the Ocelot style and the Other Half style. I tend to think Fabio's hazy IPAs are kind of leaning eastward towards the dank, juicy, lovely stuff coming out of Other Half's Ivy City location. And I tend to think of Ocelot as going a little drier. Absolutely aromatic, juicy beer for sure. And I think this one really kind of split the difference to represent Dynasty, what Fabio's been doing for a while very well. So I'm very excited to share that with everybody.
Keeping it Ocelot and Virginia and also keeping it drier. Be on the lookout. Ocelot was just over in Sperryville at Penn Druid, brewing out there a collab. And that will also be very hoppy and very dry. I'm hoping it kind of kicks off some of those like Green Flash Rayon Vert or Orval style vibes. Because it was brewed at Penn Druid, I assume you will see it in 750s. Again, maybe we'll see it at Snally. All right. The big event next week, post-Dynasty, is savvy fans of imported beer know the Sovereign. They're getting rid of the last of their Westy 8 and Westy 12 bottles. So that's on the 28th. they don't appear to have any plans to bring them back. So I would say show up in Georgetown and drink them out of doubles and quads.
I think the night before at Shelter Roost, the Halfway Crooks is doing a big takeover too. So like, hit up all the NRG places next week.
And if you want to get out of the city, a few days after that, Saturday, August 31st, Penn Druid is going to have a Saturday lagers and goat roast. So they'll actually be pouring Blue Jacket beer at Penn Druid Brewing in Sperryville. Not to be outdone, they have Mars Boy, the famous Franconian producer, Live Oak Brewing, a beer who makes a Lost Lagers beer in Austin, Texas, and they make wonderful lager there. They're also going to have Oxbow, beer from Oxbow out of Maine, the Schenker beer out of New York. They're going to have Schonrammer, which is another famous Bavarian brewery out of Germany. And then the Veil will also be at Penn Druid in Sperryville, Saturday, August 31st.
I think that Upweller, which is Josh Chapman's new beer, the name of his new beer place, or not a place yet, I guess. But I think he announced that they're having an October Forest Fest. And I'm so bummed I'm not going to be there because I would definitely make that trek, that drive out there. It's in Powhatan, Virginia. I think it's kind of near Richmond. But we have a wedding that weekend to go to. But it looks fantastic and what a great lineup. So I'm curious if any of us get to go to that.
I'm going to do my damnedest. We have locals represented with Lost Generation making, I think they're doing a sorrel beer. They foraged from, don't quote me on that. Mieza, our friends in Alexandria. That's Alex Lynch, his wonderful brewery, spontaneous, fruited, beautifully sour, sometimes funky, sometimes hoppy and phenolic and not sour beers. But so we're going to have the locals from Alexandria, Mieza, the locals from DC, Lost Gen. Check out October Forest Fest beer, which always supports the Nature Conservancy in Virginia. And we're actually going to have beers brewed with ingredients from around the state. It's a wonderful sort of spreading out. When you think of Virginia, you got ingredients way up in the north, way down in the south. So we have both sort of mountainous ingredients and then foraged, I think, seagrass or eelgrass, something. Don't quote me on that one, but we're going to have a great time in Powhatan, Virginia with Josh Chapman. The Chapman's new brand, Upweller.
We've shouted out Virginia a lot. Our guests are going to have us shouting out Maryland. Jailbreak's intermittently kind of in and out in DC. I'm not actually sure if they distribute at the moment in DC proper, although you may see a few stray cans. Justin, Jailbreak owner, you should fix that. We should talk. But you should go out to Laurel and hit Jailbreak. And it's not just because of the beer. It's because of the food. And so we all sat down with not only the head brewer, Rob Fink, who's been on the show and is no stranger to this site, but also their chef, Chef Janny Kim. He's worked at Michelin-starred restaurants like Pineapple and Pearls and Roses Luxury. He's worked at Himitsu. He's worked at Bourbon Steak. And what Jailbreak is doing with both beer and food is really very cool. Laurel is like a half an hour away from most of where we are. It's kind of weird to sit in an office park and eat dry-aged tuna and just absolutely delicious Wagyu ribeyes. But if we're talking food and beer in the area, they're really knocking it out of the park, and we thank them for their hospitality. And here's our interview with them, recorded at the source at Jailbreak.
Hi, everyone. We're here with Jailbreak Director of Brewing Operations, Rob Fink, and Jailbreak Head Chef, Jailbreak Foodworks, I believe, Chef Janny.
Good morning. Thank you for having us here.
Thank you again so much for being here, for making time.
Breweries are starting to amp up their food programs because they've realized that people will stay longer and have more beer if there's good food available. And, that's why there are so many food trucks at breweries. You need to have food. But you guys just leveled it up. And I'm just interested and curious how you did that. Like, whose idea was to bring Johnny on?
Well, it's been a little over 3 years since I joined the team. I met up with Justin, which is one of our owners here at Jailbreak. And he had mentioned that there was a empty gap in terms of our Foodworks department, and he wanted and was interested in me filling in those gaps and offering something that is unique, satisfying, but more importantly, delicious. The thing that really invigorated me joining the team was, first of all, the space and the opportunity to build a culture here. And not just the food, but more so the team, and creating a team where we can create an environment where our staff is excited to come to work. And if we have a happy staff or more invigorated and goal-oriented staff, they will be cooking happy food. So that is something that we've truly focused on here at Jailbreak on the food side.
Thank you. And I think that shows. To get into some details about the food, it seems like you're doing things that Laurel, and that's whether it is Prince George's or the Howard side, we're about half a mile into Howard, haven't really seen before. When you went about creating this program, how did you go about that? Like, did you notice the void and you were like, oh, here's what we're going to do?
So at Jailbreak, we try to really emphasize on offering different options. Everything from, like I said, the good, better, or best. If you want some wings or a burger, we'll put in the time and creatively create a recipe and SOPs to create something very delicious. Now, if we want something better or best, we will offer A5 Japanese ribeye or a dry-aged beef steak or some fish from Japan or Hawaii. We just tried our best to let the quality of the ingredients speak for itself. So it makes our job a lot easier.
So, Rob, how does what you're brewing affect the food?
I think in terms of what I brew, that necessarily hasn't changed, but the way in which I approach recipe formulation probably has certainly evolved, and to a degree because of chef's level of sophistication when it comes to things that would be normally characterized as conventional. He mentioned burger and wings. The level of thought that goes into those seemingly conventional items, I think, helps provide me with a platform to iterate on beers that have been around for a long time that I might want to how can I improve upon this? Sometimes in the production space of a brewery, the creative component is taking pre-existing things and manipulating them, but not to the extent that it becomes something else. And that is part of what I think the food has done for me in terms of how I think about approaching new beers and pre-existing ones.
One of the things that I've noticed here, and that we don't see it in DC an awful lot, is dry aging fish. Do you want to talk about how that came about?
Well, dry aging has always been practiced as a source of preservation. And that's something that may have become very popularized in social media the past coming years. But it has been something more predominantly practiced in our industry for quite some time now. The Japanese culture and sushi, they age their fish most of the times to capture a perfect window of time where that ingredient and fish will be the most delicious. And that's all we're trying to do. I think there's a strong misconception of dry aging beef running parallel with the same qualities of dry aging fish. It's actually sometimes quite opposite. So for us, we don't really refer dry aging fish for anything under 15 to 20 days. At that point, we are just conditioning the fish to, like I said, capture the quality of the fish in the window of time where it's most delicious. The only fish that we have taken a lot longer, 15, 20 days, has been bluefin tuna, especially the belly portion, which we call its fluoro. and or the king or salmon. So due to the high fat content, it allows us to dry age it a little bit longer, and it doesn't really give you the blue cheese notes that beef gives you when dry aging. It just concentrates the flavor and alters the texture just slightly.
Since you both sort of work in parallel sort of spheres that don't normally intersect, I feel like there's a commonality here sort of between pulling a pin out of a barrel, doing a little taste.
I think we both employ significant time and energy in a scientific sense, but at the same time, I think we ultimately rely on our palates, and when something is ready, it's this kind of intrinsic, unconscious thing that we just know, and that's when we kind of pull the trigger on something, like let our palates decide.
I get the sense that like within sort of the beer and food communities, there are classic pairings. What are some of the food and beer pairings that you've done here that I think you might consider a little unconventional and surprising?
Well, to answer your question, when I first joined the team about upwards of 3 years ago, one of the main priorities and goals was to create food pairings with the beer. So there was a point where we were, the kitchen team that is, were pairing intentional dishes and creating these dishes for showcasing these new beers that were being produced almost on a, I believe, bi-weekly basis, sometimes weekly. So, for example, one of our most popular seasonal beers is our Scoville Jalapeno IPA. So that is honestly kind of on the easier side. So we just kind of incorporate some sort of jalapenos. I believe one of the first renditions that we did was almost like a ceviche with shrimp and jalapeno. So to answer your question, we have done it in the past. We kind of stepped away from it due to production. You know, for us to create on a weekly basis a new dish is quite demanding. And so we kind of utilize that time to focus on other priorities in the operation.
Do you guys think you would ever get into the business of maybe doing some pop-ups?
We've discussed pop-ups many times, more importantly for the sole reason of creating a platform for my colleagues and other partnering chefs that surfacing their talents, but more importantly, my staff. So I have a couple of staff members that would love to showcase their talents, whether it's pizza or soul food or anything of that nature, or pupusas. And, you know, we always love and try to invigorate our staff and having that conversation at least and stating, hey, this opportunity is here.
And we have a few interesting things coming down the pike. So, Jake, you mentioned this earlier. Yes, I'm a big fan of barrel aging beers. We have a English barley wine collaboration in barrels right now with Sapwood. We brew the exact same recipe, one here, one at their facility. We will be taking the best of each brewery's respective stock and blending them together as a singular release. There will also be a release, there will be a double barrel aged version, so we're going to come up with a singular blend that volumetrically will allow for a singular release and then subsequent double barrel aged release. Those are my passion projects that if I could do that and be, financially solvent, then I would do nothing but that. But I understand the reality of the industry.
We've talked a bit about the back of the house, in the kitchen, in the brew house. What about in the front of the house in terms of sort of training the staff, in terms of recommending beer pairings, or perhaps given that this is Jailbreak and Justin Bonner comes from a wine background and is also a big bourbon guy, those pairings as well?
So for the front of the house, I think that our staff does a magnificent job in being the ambassadors to Rob's products and what we do at Foodworks. In our industry has always been a work in progress in training, because finding staff to begin with is already very challenging. So to keep our staff and invigorate them with knowledge and challenging them has always been our focal point in just trying to be better each day. So making mistakes it's going to happen, but it's up to us managers and leaders to guide them through the process of not being able to make those mistakes again. So pairing them and, flavor notes and tasting notes, these are all things that are in the vernacular of our staff, and they're well equipped with this knowledge. At this point, I think a lot of the variables that goes into answering what you ask are the customers and what do they want? How can we make them happy?
Where do you see this going in the next year or 2 years, or where do you want the beer and food program to go?
It's very important for us to forecast what should be happening for the next coming months. In order for us to do that, we need to really focus on the present. And that is the biggest priority for me each and every day. If we continue to focus on the future, the present will slip away and it'll be this cycle. So to answer your question, we really try to focus on the present. And in the future, we would love for us to be at a place where we can offer our variations and inventory of wine, since Justin has this vast collection. And for us to pretty much be the glue to the industry standard of beer and food is this new thing, but we want to introduce and make it a normalized entity where beer, wine, food, create something new and different, something comfortable, but more importantly, somewhere where staff is just really excited to be there. That's the most important thing, because at the end of the day, if the staff is knowledgeable, they are the ambassadors to the customers. We are not out there talking to the customers. Rob maybe sometimes, and but at the end of the day, our staff is the ones that are putting in the work, that are talking to the customers here late at night, closing, cleaning, putting in the work, and they make our job extremely easy. So,
Chef Janny, Rob, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time.
thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to all the Jailbreak staff, to Chef Janny, to head brewer Rob Fink, to the owner Justin. Much appreciated. Also, shout out to Matt Heffernan, who just happened to be there with his kids during a Little League game. That was super cool. You may know Matt Heffernan, ex-Smoke and Barrel, 3 stars, Narragansett. Very, very, very cool stuff. All right, folks, take us out.
I had a brilliant time at Jailbreak, and to the point where when I visited initially, I was live texting you guys saying, oh my God, this food is orgasmic. And I'm so glad that we were able to get out there because, it had been a while, I think, for a lot of us to be able to Jailbreak. And we had just a fantastic time. And thank you to Chef Janny and to Rob for being so kind and coming in on a Sunday and hosting us. So cheers. Definitely go check out Jailbreak and obviously your local breweries.
Yeah, if you are not able to get to Jailbreak, go see who's been making beer better in your immediate area for a while. We love Justin and Chef Janny. What I will say about Mr. Rob Fink is that he has for many years been striving to make the beer in DC and now in Maryland better. And he's worked very hard at it. And it's an endless pursuit. And so I am endlessly inspired by Rob Fink. He never rests. He never takes that's good enough as an answer. He just keeps progressing. And so in that spirit, we want to grow. We want to get better ourselves. We want to see you do better. If you feel you're ready to make that next step, we're here for you. That being said, come join us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/DC Beer. We'd love to have you support like some of our brilliant friends, Julie Verratti, Alyssa Lyon Hall. Shout out to Chuck. Shout out to Mike. You know who you are. We appreciate you all so much. And to our new followers, thank you for joining us. Come support. We love doing what we do. We'd love to have you join us at a DC Beer Share. We look forward to continuing the conversation offline, IRL. We can't wait to see you at the next Women's Brew Culture Club or the next DC Beer Share.
Which, by the way, save the date, is at City State on Sunday, September 8th. That is the weekend after Labor Day. Also save the date for the first weekend in October, the week before Snallygaster. we might be doing a little Oktoberfest thing with our good friends over at Metro Bar. All right, folks, we're at DC Beer on the socials, dcbeer.com. Check out the events, check out the beer trails, check out the articles. More coming soon. All right, be well, everybody.